All right, let's go ahead and get this started. So these are going to be the tools that we're going to be using to take apart this Sig Sauer P226 40 cal. All right, we have a Phillips head screwdriver, a small flat tip, some various punches, armor's block, and then two different types of hammers. I will say for this rolling pin, you're going to need something kind of hefty, so I may end up having to use something bigger than this. I just don't remember if I used it or not. So these are going to be our tools to take this gun apart. First and foremost, before we get started, we need to clear and safe this weapon. So remove the magazine, no ammunition, slide to the rear, nothing in the chamber. Okay, and there is no safety on this weapon, so you don't have to worry about putting it on safe. So this gun is in fact clear and safe. Now we're going to go ahead and break this down to a field strip. So first thing you do, you're going to lock the slide to the rear, and you're going to bring your takedown lever all the way down, disengage the slide stop, pull the frame from the slide, put that off to the side. You're going to remove the recoil spring and guide, and these two do come apart. And then the barrel comes undone. And this here is all you would do for a field strip. However, on this channel, we just don't do field strips. We do full detail strips. So we will start with the slide. First thing you want to do is remove this roll pin that holds the firing pin in place. Typically, you're going to want to use some roll pin punches. I still yet to have any right now. Going to be my next purchase once I get some money and done paying these high gas prices. But for right now, we're going to bang out that roll pin. And if you don't have roll pin punches, you want to make sure you get something as close to the edges as possible. I know this roll pin looks a little rough right now. It's been through a lot, so I'm going to have to replace that at some point. All right, so the roll pin came through. Okay, put that off to the side. If you have a lot of parts, these little pans are great because they are magnetic. All right, there's nothing worse than having to fully clean your garage because you dropped a spring or something small. So good investment on those. In order to remove the firing pin, you want to push down on the firing pin safety. Firing pin comes out. All right, you got your firing pin spring. Okay, simple and easy. This here is your firing pin safety. There is a spring underneath there, so be careful when taking it out. As you can see there, put them off to the side. Now, I don't know why Sig did this, but this is really annoying. In order to remove the extractor, you're going to need some sort of a scribe or a small enough, which I'm going to use an even smaller one, flat tip screwdriver. Like this, and you have to wedge it between the extractor bar and the extractor itself so you can remove the extractor. Okay, bear with me here. As you push down, or you push up against the spring, and you just gotta find a way to jimmy it out. not like that. Did I just lose a spring? Oh wait, there's the spring. I just lost my extractor. All right, found my extractor, still intact, but as you can see, all right, kind of a poor design because things can shoot out everywhere. So make sure you have a good handle holding back the extractor spring, all right, because otherwise everything's gonna shoot out. All right, and that is the slide fully disassembled. Next, we're gonna take apart the frame. All right, first parts we gotta do is we have to remove these hand grips so we can get on to the inside. I will say, pictures go a long way. So if this is the first time of you taking this gun apart, take pictures as you go because you can misplace certain springs and it will not work as designed. All right, so take pictures. Another grip. This here, all right, you can fit this part into that little hole there. All right, don't do that. This end goes right here, not in that hole, okay? So, now we're gonna remove the takedown lever. In order to do so, you have to push it clockwise, 90 degrees, and then just push it out. You can wiggle it on out, turn it, spin it, however you need to take it fully out. And there you go. There's our takedown lever. All right, after you've taken out the takedown lever, this here is your locking insert. In order to remove it, okay, hammer has to be forward, all right? You can either decock it, right, or pull the trigger and guide it forward, okay? But hammer needs to be forward in order to bring it out, okay? And then you can remove this spring. This is your slide lock spring, okay? After that, this trigger pin, you can just push that out. Just like this, okay? And then the slide lock, or sorry, slide stop comes out. And then from there, you can start removing the decocking lever, all right? And then the trigger bar spring, not sear spring, sorry. You can remove the trigger bar spring so you can remove the trigger bar and the trigger. So to remove the decocking spring, you just kind of pop it up, take it out, decocking lever comes out, okay? Now, there is another piece, all right? This is your decocking lever bearing, okay? If you're able to, try to remember how that all went in, okay? So you don't have any problems later. Flip it over, and we're going to remove the trigger bar spring. Just pop it out of place, spin this out, and there you go. Again, pictures, 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 pictures. After that, your trigger and trigger bar can come right out. They do separate, okay? So now it leaves us with the magazine release and our sear, springs, hammer, strut, housing, all that such. All right. If you are so inclined, you can take a small little screwdriver and you can place it through the back slit here. And if you push up, you can take it out of position. Takes off all that tension. So that housing comes off. This, the hammer strut and hammer strut spring come off. Okay, so now what's left is a pin that needs to get punched out there to remove the safety lever, sear spring, and extractor. Then afterwards you have the hammer pin to remove, and then the hammer stop pin. You can just push it through, okay? Be mindful because everything is under spring tension, so keep fingers here to catch any flying objects. Sear spring, okay? Your extractor, and your safety lever. Then the only thing left here is your hammer and your magazine catch. Oh, I'm sorry. There's your sear, and then the pin. To remove the hammer, push it through, hammer comes out. Here's your hammer pin. And then the only thing that's left over is the magazine catch. Now, there is a stopper that is right in here that you have to push down on because there's a lip that sits right behind this piece of metal there. All right, once you push down on it, it'll release itself, and then there's the magazine catch spring, and then the stopper. I find it easy. Find a small little flat tip screwdriver. Push down. Be careful, it is all under tension. There's your stop spring, and then your magazine release and magazine release spring. Okay. I want to apologize. The backing, you can just slide out. All right, comes out like that. One more thing, I keep forgetting, so many parts of this gun, is the hammer stop. There's a little pin in there, and there's also a spring in there as well, right, to be mindful of. But if you find yourself a small enough little punch, tap that on through. Here's the pin. The hammer stop and hammer stop spring. All right, let's go ahead and reassemble this. All right, we do everything backwards. So we'll re-put this magazine release plate, slide it back into position. And then we're going to put the magazine release back together. Remember, you have the magazine release, the magazine release spring, and then the stop spring. Okay. So this groove goes against the magazine. Right in there. And then there is a slot to put the spring in on the stopper. And then this little part here is going to go inward, okay? Just like that. Grab your little flathead, push down, and then in, and there you go. Magazine release reinstalled. After that, we're gonna put in our hammer. Our hammer stop. So we have our hammer stop here. And it's a little spring, okay? Again, pictures. Slide this into place. Line up the holes. Get your tiny little pin. Tap-a-roo. There you go. Hammer stop reinstalled. Next, grab your hammer. All right, these are your sear notches. All right, those go inward to the gun. And just find its spot. Okay. Now, you want to make sure you have some room here, okay, for the trigger bar to catch onto, all right? Because it slides all the way here and it stops on that bar, all right? So make sure you have enough sticking out there, all right? So your trigger bar can do what it's got to do. All right, so this part's a little tricky. All right, after you put the extractor in, all right, just like this, you have to feed the sear in kind of through here a little bit. And once you get the holes lined up there, all right, then you can put in the safety lever. Okay. And lastly, you're going to put your sear spring in, and then take the pin, just gotta go in this way. There you go. All right, and make sure that clears the slide grooves there. All right. And that's all you gotta do for that one there. All right, now on your hammer strut, all right, on the bottom, sorry, I should have showed you beforehand, but on the bottom of the hammer, it splits and there's a little bar across there. So, just like that. Okay. Put your hammer spring on and the housing. Put it into place, and there you go. Okay. Also, this part of the spring has got to go underneath that bar. So if you take your little flat tip, push it into place, just like that. That way it kind of can still engage with the hammer, okay? All right, so next we're going to put together our decocking spring assembly. So you're gonna need your decocking lever, your bearing, the slide stop, and then the decocking spring, okay? When putting in the bearing, okay, it's gonna sit like this, okay, but on the inside. All right, the best way to do it is hold your finger underneath while you put everything together. With the spring is going to, this part here of the spring is going to sit there, not this part, okay, this here. So it's going to sit just like that. So may need like another tool to help kind of guide it all in. Okay, make sure it sits in place. I'm going to put the decocking lever right into position, and then with the spring, as I said before, I'm going to sit just like this, and you're going to move this end of the spring right into that hole. Just like that. So now you have a working decocking lever. In order to finish off with your trigger, okay, you need the slide stop. That's going to go in just like this. All right, and you're going to want to make sure that your holes are in line for inserting the locking block insert. All right, now with this pin, okay, as you can see, there's a little groove here. All right, there's also grooves right here. This groove is going to sit on the left part of the gun, and these grooves are going to be pointed downward, okay, so that they're pointing down towards the grip. All right, and it's going to be just above parallel. Once the locking insert goes into place, it'll put it all into position. So, okay, all right, first hole in, and you find your trigger hole. Once that in, grab your little flathead. All right, make sure that the grooves are down, so we actually have to spin this that way and a little bit up. So if you're able to see, you can kind of see that the grooves are downward, okay, to catch the locking insert. Now the last part of the frame is going to be the locking insert with the slide stop spring. All right, slide stop spring, this goes along the locking insert. This part goes in to this hole here. It's going to look just like that. This part here is going to go in between the trigger bar and the slide stop, and it's just going to go in nice and easy. If it does not go in nice and easy, retake a look at your pivot pin and make sure it's in the right spot. Then you take your takedown lever, And what's easiest is if you have it up and down like this, because this groove will sit on top of the spring, and then you can spin it to the 9 o'clock and then 6 o'clock and just play with it and put it in the spot. So have it upright, back upright again to go into the opposite holes. Bring it back down to the 9 o'clock, push it into place, and then down to the 6 o'clock. And there you go. Now your frame is fully reassembled. Next, we're going to work on our slide. First step, reinserting the extractor. All right, you're gonna need your extractor bar, spring. Okay. Place the spring in first. There is a little hole in there. Okay, it's in there, that's good. Next, you're gonna put the pin in place. Make sure your spring is pushed all the way down so the extractor bar can go in. Once you place the extractor bar in, oh shoot, damn magnetics. And you can put in the extractor itself. This one, you can actually just kind of push against it until it goes into place. And there you go. Now your extractor is reassembled. Next, we're going to install our firing pin safety and the firing pin. When inserting the safety, it's going to go right in this spot here. You want to make sure that the half moon shape is to the rear. Okay? When installing the safety with the spring, I suggest doing it either parallel or upside down so you don't lose position of the spring. Once you have it, reposition the half moon shape. All right. Put the firing pin spring back on the firing pin. You can kind of see that this end looks smaller than this end. Smaller end goes on first so it can fit inside this groove of the firing pin. Just take a little oomph, okay? And then the grooves of the firing pin go to the top of the slide. To press on this safety lever as you insert the firing pin, and there you go. Okay, it's in place. Last part for assembling the slide is going to be putting the firing pin rolling pin back into place. I recommend lubing it up first so it doesn't seize. Oh, that was a little much. And if you can remember which end it came out with, that's going to be the end you're going to put it in with. So for us, it was this end here. You can use your armor's block. Actually, you don't really need the armor's block, I guess, at this point, but going to want to use your hefty hammer. Again, I will be replacing this because I don't have roll pins, and all I'm doing is just destroying this roll pin, or roll pin punches, sorry. But once you get it in, there you go. Our pin's in place. And now your slide is fully assembled outside of the barrel, spring, and spring guide. Now we are back at the field strip stage. So we're gonna put everything back together, starting with the slide. Go ahead and put your barrel back in. Move forward. Place your spring guide through the spring into the second spot. And guide it all the way in to that groove there. And that's it. For the frame, you put your grips back on. Screw them in. Okay, grips back on. I'm gonna go ahead and just throw a little lubrication on the slide rails. So it's slide onto the slide rails. Lock it to the rear. Push the takedown lever to 3 o'clock. Give it some actuation. Pull the trigger. All right, there you go. Pull the trigger and hold it. Release, feel the click. Pull the trigger, function check, set. And that is how you do a full, detailed disassembly and reassembly of the Sig Sauer P226 40 cal. I hope you enjoyed this video.